and then I guess the picture froze for whatever reason. So I'm gonna label that part one on the final upload, and then I'll label this part two. Um, so that's how we're gonna go. Let's see if let's see if people jump on here from the first stream. I know a bunch of people probably still on the old stream, but unfortunately, I had to nix the old stream just because the video froze for whatever reason. Also, all the questions in the old video are gone, so you know, make sure if you ask a question that I didn't answer, you drop it in there down below. What was I saying? Yeah, let's talk about IGP. So, IGP has in Western Europe, there's a growing movement against IGP, right? Because at the end of the day, the Western Europe is owned by the positive only trainers. Their lobbies have completely, unfortunately, taken over, dog training there. They've legalized, or sorry, they've made it illegal to use any kind of aversives in training in most of Western Europe. And things like Ecollar, prong collar, like they've just made it very, very hard to be successful in IGP there if you want to legally train. So, of course, all the guys that are serious about IGP there, to be quite honest, train illegally. I don't think I'm telling anything. I know people might be mad at me for saying it, but at the end of the day, I'm going to say it. Now, places like North America, Czech Republic, Slovakia, stuff like that, they can still train like in the right way. They can still use modern tools. This brings me to something, but I'll talk about it after. So, IGP, I think, in Western Europe will be done in 10 years, but it's really come on hard in Canada and the United States. And it's really popular in some other countries like China and other places where it's really developed a lot of popularity. So, all I think a lot of Western Europe may fall out of IGP. IGP, I don't think will die. It might change significantly, but it will not die. And the reason why it's so reviled in some places in Western Europe and why they're trying to ban it is because they can't win. They can't win with their methods, right? With the type, you want a strong dog to show the type of dog that's strong enough to compete on the high levels, to show power, to show precision, to show, that control, and all those things together at the highest level. And you want to compete against people that are training with all the tools that don't have to hide what they do. That's going to become increasingly more and more difficult. Plus, those old guys in Europe that still train the right way, they can't bring new guys in and show them what they're doing, right? There's no continuity for the sport there, right? Because these guys can basically accuse you of committing a crime and you're going to go to jail. You're going to have to face legal consequences. So I don't see much of a future for IGP in some places in Western Europe, and I think it probably will get banned. But it is the most competitive dog sport in the world currently for bite sport, and it's probably, in my opinion, it is the most difficult. It is the most difficult sport to compete in because you have the best trainers involved in the sport, and the standard for everything is so high. So my advice: get involved in IGP. I think there's, depends on where you are, but you have to understand that there's a lot of trainers, like especially guys probably in your home country. I don't know where you live. They can't trust you. Like they can't tell you like what they're actually doing, like because it's risky for them, for their family, for their future. You know what I mean? So you have to maybe go to another country to get instruction if you want to get like real instruction on how to really train, because unfortunately there they have to hide. They have to hide what they do because they're criminals for training in the right way. Which brings me to this concept, this is a weird concept, right? You see this perpetuated, like, oh, training has progressed. There was some retard on my Facebook. Like remember, I post like reels on my Facebook of me training, and I always show the e-collar on my dog. I don't hide it. He's wearing 2 boxes, and he's always happy doing the work. And some retard, oh, in Europe we don't train this way, we're so advanced, this training has progressed, it's modern training. I'm like, motherfucker, this e-collar that he's wearing was invented 1 year ago. What are you talking about modern training, right? You're talking about cookies and clickers. Cookies and clickers have been around for 30 years. There's nothing modern about that. We know all about that. We know what you can do with it. We know what you can't do with it. Is it a good tool? Of course it's a good tool. Is it the only tool you're going to use? No. There's this like weird, like they always like acting like they have like some secret. Like, oh, we're so modern in our modern way of training. It's like, bitch, you're just playing with cookies and clickers. They've been around for a very long time. There's nothing, exciting or modern about it. Now, an e-collar allows you, the modern e-collar, where it's instantaneous. You have a wide range of stimulation that you can use. You can use tone, you can use vibrate. I got finger kick. I got so many different features on this device that is modern technology that allows me to then incorporate my modern technology with my training. It amplifies my training. That's what modern technology does. It amplifies. It amplifies your ability to communicate, right? It's like, can you build a house without a power saw and without a nail gun and all that? Yeah, sure, man. We can make fucking wooden nails and use a handsaw or an axe, and we can build a house. We did it for a long time. But with the advent of modern technology, we're able to build houses faster and better, right? Like, you can apply that to anything. It's like, yeah, we can go back and do it the old way. An e-collar is simply a wireless leash. That is all it is. You can help the dog with it. You can correct the dog with it. You can excite the dog with it. You can suppress the dog with it. It is a wireless leash. If you still want to train analog, go for it. I'm modern. I'm going to be using modern technology in my training, because when you know how to use modern technology, it amplifies everything. It makes things better. It progresses. So the most modern form of training is actually e-collar training, right? It's simply, you can't argue that. Like, it's undeniable. Now, what they've been doing in Europe is they've been really pushing for much more compliant dogs, like dogs that, so the fundamental rules of dog training never change, right? If you want a behavior to exist, you must reinforce it. You must reinforce it positively by rewarding the behavior, making it advantageous for the dog to perform the behavior. And you must also reinforce it negatively by making it uncomfortable for the dog if he doesn't perform the behavior. So you make him uncomfortable until he performs the behavior, okay? Now, the only thing that changes is how much discomfort you need to use to get there. So if you have a super soft dog, the level of discomfort that will incentivize them to do something is much less. I can simply pull on like if I have a sensitive, compliant dog, all I gotta do is pull on the leash, like on his flat collar, and say, "Hey, stop that," and he'll be like, "Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna be perfect." I can correct him with my body language. I can correct him with my voice. It doesn't mean I'm an awesome dog trainer. It just means this dog is really, really soft, and his threshold for negative reinforcement is extremely low. But I get a dog like Chico now, strong, dominant, independent, driven, okay? This is not a dog where I can correct him by saying, "No, stop that." He'll laugh at me, right? This is nothing for him because he's a real dog. He's a dog that has the drive, the courage, and the power that we look for, in the German Shepherd dog. There's nothing wrong with more compliant and biddable dogs, but that's not the goal, right? The goal, especially for a working dog, you need a dog with hardness. You need a dog with independence. You need a dog with drive, right? And even with those like softer dogs, I still use tools. And why do I use tools? Because it makes them more resilient. It makes them stronger. I don't like a dog that's like just so like scared and always willing to do whatever you ask him to do because like it doesn't take very much pressure. It's not that they don't use pressure. They do use pressure, but they just don't have to use the same types of pressure because the dog's more biddable and the dog's soft. And even still, the result's not the same. The result's not the same, which is why they're not winning, which is why they're not on the podium, which is why they have to pass these laws because people aren't convinced with the results. So you must make it illegal now to do the things that people know work. So dogs in KNPV, dogs in IGP, dogs in ring sport now. If you want to be successful, you must train illegally in some of these countries. There's nobody who's training in the modern way, right? That's winning. And the modern way is not even the modern way. It's 30 years old. It's been around forever. Anyways, I digress. If there is a question that is longer, what is the best way to get advice from you? Take my online courses. You get my book, You know, there's no like advice like for like your dog being untrained and being reactive or having behavioral problems. This isn't like something where we have a conversation on the internet and we fix the problem. There is a step-by-step training process that you need to follow in order to fully train your dog, create impulse control, create this concept of yes in your dog. Stop allowing him to feel comfortable to say no to you. And also, it gives you the answers to these questions. My dog jumps on the table. My dog goes in the garbage. My dog barks at other dogs. My dog whines in his crate. You know, my dog does this. My dog does that. The answer for all these questions is the same, but you don't have the answers because training is a holistic process. It's not, oh, just do this to fix that. You don't just have a that problem. You have a lot of problems if you have a that problem, right? Once you have good general control of the dog, once you have a dog that's in a state of compliance and cooperation with you, then the dog is, it's easy for the dog to say yes. And you're able to control the dog's behavior and get them to stop doing the things that you don't want them to do. And you need a systemic training process in order to do this. It's not that it's very complicated or it takes a long, long time. It's just that you just have to do that work. You know, spend a month or two doing it, literally. 4 weeks, 6 weeks, you'll have a different dog if you're doing the right things. Take my book, train with my book, get my elite off leash course, get my reactive rehab course. And you know, some people be like, yeah, it has this shilling. I don't care. Don't get my courses then. But at the end of the day, I know what I do works. You know, our training system works, man. We got people all over the world. You want to check out my, I just uploaded a video for our recall contest. I just went in the elite members group and I said, guys, it's a recall contest. Whoever makes like the best recall video wins. You'll see dogs all over the world making recalls off leash under distraction. Different breeds, different dogs. It's like just real training. It works. It's all over the world. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not complicated. It's not rocket science. You just have to do the work. What else we got? What are the pros and cons of a handler sensitive puppy? What are the pros and cons of a pup that's less sensitive to the handler? Which puppy would you recommend to get for working? That is 100% your prerogative. The handler sensitive puppy requires less pressure to get the desired result. The one that's less sensitive will be more resilient to pressure, probably has a stronger nervous system, and will be a little bit more. So the good thing about this is why I recommend for people that are new dog handlers, you get yourself a German Shepherd. Why? Because the German Shepherd is more resilient to handler mistakes than your average Belgian Malinois, for instance. And if you're new, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you're going to make timing errors, and you're going to make, you know, just like a lot of errors in your training process in general. The Belgian Malinois is going to be much more sensitive to those errors versus the German Shepherd. He'll be much more because they have just generally, you know, they're just more handler hard dogs, right? They're a little bit more mentally able to handle that stuff. Whereas the Belgian Malinois that are super cognizant of patterns, if you install a bad pattern by accident because you don't really know what you're doing, it's really hard to now get them off that pattern. And that causes a lot of stress if you try to remove a pattern from them that they've really internalized, and they internalize patterns like that, right? So I always say it depends on your dog. There's a lot of like good dog handlers, and maybe they don't like to make a lot of pressure in their training. They choose the more sensitive dogs, which is fine. You know, it works with what they're doing. For me, I like a dog that has good hardness. It's not that I can't train a sensitive dog. It's just, it's kind of just like, you know, but that's for me, right? That's my preference. You know what I mean? You know, so it really depends on what you want the dog for. Have I heard of American Sentinel Canine? No, I haven't heard about that. I haven't heard of them. Let's see. What else have we got here? Allison Emery, can you please explain how you train the difference between with me or street healing and focused healing? Is there a video I missed somewhere? Allison, if you're in my online courses, and I appreciate your $10 donation, yes, there's video. I go over this completely in my online training, but fundamentally, with me, the dog learned to functional heal, and focus healing, the dog learned to focus heal, and those are two very different behaviors. On the training field, I want a dog that's super active, super engaged, super pushy in the healing, and has a very specific head position and body movement. And on the street, I want a dog who's calm, compliant, and next to me. And the way I train those things is very different. I'll give you the short, the you know, I'll give you the short answer. Okay, one, the functional heel. I just train with pressure. With my dog, if I reinforce him because he's so high drive, like if I give him positive reinforcement a lot for doing something, he's going to get crazy active. And that is not the emotion that I want in functional healing. I just want the dog to be chilling. I want him to be next to me. I want him to be just relatively calm. I don't want him active there. Okay. So with him, I just made negative reinforcement and I said, bro, you got to stay next to me. Them's the rules. Don't get in front of me. Don't get behind me. Just stay next to me. Right. And I just did it with negative reinforcement. Right. Which is basically making pressure when the dog left the position. Right. With the focus healing, I made a ton of positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement, and I brought them together to create the picture that I wanted in the healing. Head up, the action in the front end, all of that stuff. How do I add obligation in the tracking? I create it in my tracking course. Like again, creatine, like I can't, like it's a whole process that I go through from beginning, from the scent pad to the footsteps where I teach a dog how to accept pressure on the track. I don't know if I missed a bunch of stuff here. What do we got here? Merry Christmas from Freya and Uzi. Can't wait for the seminar. Yeah, good to see. You know what, Melissa, it'll be good to see you. Reactive Bull Terrier. Your course saved. Thank you, Has. Awesome, Lawrence. I know Bull Terriers are not easy to train, man. Those Bull Terriers, man, they are generally extremely stubborn dogs, like training a mule. But they're really cool dogs, too. Like, they look really awesome. My dog listens to my place and doesn't move unless he doesn't see me anymore, but he doesn't listen to my wife. How do I get him to understand my wife's giving the commands? Is it the same? It's clearly not the same as you. If it was the same as you, because your dog doesn't listen to your commands just because they're commands. Your dog's not a robot, right? Like he doesn't listen to sit because you said the word sit. He listens to sit because you said sit and you made reinforcement, right? Positive and negative, I'm assuming, to make that sit happen. And you did it reliably and you did it regularly. So he knows when that guy says sit, he's got to listen to that guy. What he doesn't know is that when that girl says sit, he's got to listen to her because she didn't do any of that stuff. So unless she starts doing that stuff, unless she starts reinforcing the behavior and showing him that she's willing to reinforce the behavior, he will never listen to her because it's not about the command. It's about what you do when you say the command, right? What is my, okay, I already saw it. What is my opinion on these mixed breeds, Canis Panther and XL Bullies? They're just mutts, like there are some good ones, there's some not good ones. I mean, they're not like anything I'm interested in. It's gimmicky, like people, oh, Canis Panther, black band dog mix, ooh, exciting. Hey, listen, if you see one and it smokes your boots, buy it. Like what do you want me to tell you? XL Bullies is the same, like there's some nice ones, there's some not so nice ones. I like those little tiny bullies. Those really cute. Not the exotics, those are freakish. Like the really like the staffy mixes that are like the what do they call them? Pocket bullies. I like those, man. Those are cute. Like they're all muscular and small, jacked. I like those little dogs. They're basically Staffordshire Terrier mixes, but like really, really cool dogs. My dogs are there, Bella and Dante. Can't wait to pick them up. Can you talk about Bite Night? Curious for my pup. Bite Night is like, Austin and Jess, two of my trainers that run my protection program, run Bite Night, every Wednesday night, obviously except for holidays. They're here at 6:30 p.m. And, people that have dogs that are of a suitable breed and type are allowed to come and do Bite Night with them, right? You can do some bite work, maybe some sport obedience. We're doing some sport obedience. I don't personally run it. It's run by Austin and Jessica. But, I have input into it, obviously. Like, if they have questions about a dog or something, they ask me, of course. I'll say this, Julie. Dante is a sweet dog, but he's not doing bite work. If there's a question that is longer... Oh, sorry, I already answered that. Let's see here. IGP is Schutzhund. It's a dog sport. What else we got here? We got a 14-month-old female Roddy used to work for food and toys, but suddenly doesn't want to be hand-fed for training and doesn't want to chase and commit to using toys with the handler. Any advice? I would say, you know, if it's a sudden change in behavior, get your dog checked from a health perspective. Maybe there's something going on from a health perspective, right? Like dogs don't just like suddenly completely change. Now, if it was a slow and gradual change, I would say that maybe there's something happening in the training or in the process of rewarding the dog that is just not working. Like I see a lot of people trying to reward their dog and just basically getting their dog completely bored with the reward, getting their dog bored of the toy, getting their dog bored of the food. And they don't know that they're doing it. And then just over time, the dog's like, you know what, screw this shit. I don't care about your ball and I don't care about your food. I eat at home anyways. And, I can play with the ball by myself, or even if I don't play with the ball, I don't really care. There's a lot of dogs that just aren't that motivated by food and play, and if you're not doing just the right things to keep them motivated and to always increase their motivation, then you see it just decline until it falls off. But if it just suddenly happened, I would say maybe there's a health issue with your dog. Maybe there's an ear infection. Maybe there's a toothache. There could be something. So get it checked out. Started power obedience. Cannot for the life of me get barking. Growls and bites, but no bark. He is a bull terrier. So it's just for fun. You're the man. Change my life. Well, listen, Lawrence, I'll ask you this. If your dog barks in real life, he can definitely bark in the context of training. You just haven't found the way to motivate him to bark. So what I would do is I would reward incrementally any noise that he makes, and then keep pushing your training sessions just a little bit every single time until he learns that, a whine or a growl, you know, can become a bark. When he starts actually thinking about making noise, almost always like the dog will end up, barking. So that's what I would do. In tracking, how do you teach a deep nose and how do you teach or work on concentration within the track? Again, Matt, I have a tracking course, my friend. Like it's all laid out there. But fundamentally, I create a high level of motivation for the dog to track. And I teach the dog, I create urgency in the track. Like there's a lot of people whose dog like tracks like, he's tracking, eating the food, looking around, fucking the dog, so to speak, and then, half-ass tracking. I don't allow that, right? Right from the beginning on the SEMPAD, I teach urgency, right? Urgency comes from I want to, and urgency comes from I need to. And that comes from when I teach that track, when I teach that SEMPAD in the beginning, he learns, okay, I really want to be here because this is where my food's at. My food is in the SEMPAD, okay? That's number one. Then number two, he learns there are certain things I can do that will cause me to lose being here. Okay. When I lift my head, suddenly I'm not here anymore. And that's not good for me. When I, start screwing around, maybe like, slow chewing, looking around or leaving or something like that. It's like immediately I lose here. The dog learns the odor is everything. He learns the track is everything. He learns that he really, really needs to be here. And if he does anything that kind of like takes it for granted, like when I play with a ball, for instance, with my dog, it's the same exact concept. If my dog ever puts the ball down in play, I steal that thing right away. I'm like, it's gone. If you show anything less than 100% commitment for this thing, I take it from you. I take it from you. And that in itself creates stress where the dog's like, no, 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 I want it, I want it, I want it, right? And you introduce that slowly in the process until the dog's like has this urgency to be there and is willing to fight through adversity to be there. There's so many dogs that can't handle any adversity on the track. The line gets tangled, somebody sneezes over there, another dog comes to them, whatever it is, and they will just quit tracking. And it's like because they were never taught urgency on the track. So that's fundamentally it. I go through that entire process in my tracking course, and I actually use a dog doesn't have a natural urgency for the track, my puppy Bang, and I show with her how I do it. What is the liability on protection dogs attacking an intruder, breaking into your home? Totally depends on where you at. The province, the state that you're in, the city. There's a lot of different possibilities, so I can't answer that. How do you teach a dog to make stopping power on the escape? the act of actually stopping the helper on the escape, because the exercise is the prevention of the escape. You don't teach. Okay, so for that, it's quite simply pressure. Okay, as the helper is running away with the dog on his arm, he's making pressure, and the dog learns to avoid the pressure by going behind the helper and basically trying to stop the helper. And it creates that picture of trying to stop the helper. In most cases, that's what's done to create that picture. How they make that pressure can be various different things. Spatial, where they run the dog towards like an object, and the dog, like, maybe they run the dog towards a tree, and they have the dog on the sleeve, and they bring him close to the tree, and he sees the tree, so he like starts to pull. Or, see someone use a step stool. Like, as the helper runs towards a step stool, he'll pick it up and hold the step stool over the dog, and the dog's like, you know, cattle prod. Some guys use cattle prod. Some guys use just the stick. For me, I just generally use the stick, and I'll just pressure the dog a little bit with the stick as I'm moving away, and he learns to go here, and then he achieves success there, and that's how it's created. Speed on the long attack comes from two places. Number one, most important, genetic. Okay. Number two, consistency of where the object is. Okay. So the dog is biting a sleeve. If you're moving the sleeve all over and the dog has to think about hitting the sleeve as he's coming to the target, he's more than likely going to slow down, because it turns out that when you go really, really fast, you're less likely to hit this moving target that's never predictably in one place. So when you have the sleeve specifically in one place and it doesn't move on every long attack, right, then the dog's going to come fast, and he's going to commit, or as fast as he can come, and he's going to commit. That's one thing. And then, of course, genetics play a role, and not much you can do about genetics. What do I think about recreational bite work instead of practicing a protection sport? It's like anything. Why not? If you want to do it, do it, Hungry. Well, Hungary just had the WUSV. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe the culture in Hungary is not so interested in the dog sport. But in many places in Europe, it's quite popular. Go to Czech, go to Slovakia, like those places have really big IGP scenes. How do I teach impulse control? It's a habit, right? A lot of dogs just don't have the habit of impulse control. We create that habit by showing them over and over and over again in many different circumstances that they can't just constantly self-satisfy, right? Every command that you teach, when you teach functional obedience, you teach impulse control. I can't just go and do stuff, right? I can't do things without permission. Or if I'm doing this, even if I really want to go do that, I can't do that because I'm doing this and I must do this. Just a process, right? Like just showing the dog over a few weeks, and then over a few months, and then over a few years, the same time over and over again, right? Like I can't just constantly self-satisfy. There are contexts in which I can do certain things. I can't just do whatever I want all the time. Here in the UK where I live, I have found it hard to find IGP trainer group, but all groups very cliquey, and only local trainer I can find doesn't have very accommodating, appealing, let's say. Yeah, Rob, look, IGP's like that. In some places there's like so many options, in other places there's not, and for whatever reason, it never really caught on in the UK. Like there's other protection sport in the UK, but UK is just not really well known for IGP. And when there's less people doing it, then if you want to do it, you need to play ball with the people that are doing it. That's fundamentally it. I wish I could tell you something different. Or, you're like me and you self-educate and you really learn the sport inside and out. And then you're able to do it on your own, and people come to you and want to do it with you, But that takes years to do, my friend. I have heard you mention herders. I picked up a border collie that has some spice. Any videos on herding? I'm talking about herders, right? Herders is a way to refer to dogs that are like combination Belgian Malinois, Dutch Shepherd, and German Shepherd, right? We call these dogs herders. It's not because we actually herd sheep with them. So I'm not into herding sheep, so I don't know anything about it. Are Rottweilers harder to train when it comes to overprotective behavior and aggressive dominant behavior? Not really. If you're talking about behavioral problems, like, They can be stubborn, strong dogs, but you can certainly train them not to do those things. Has I noticed in your recent Has I noticed in your recent video you are plotting and outing the dog immediately after rewarding? Can you explain a bit of the thought process there? There is no thought process. Like, I mean, if you're talking about like some of my training, it's just because I'm getting on to the next rep. So if you're talking with Chico or Gage, a lot of the time it's like, you know, do I want the dog to out when he's here? No, because I want him to like being here. So I'll make him plots off away from me and I'll make him drop the ball there because I don't associate letting go always with being here because then the dog will avoid being here more because he likes to hold the ball, right? Let's see what else we got here. How do I start forced hold for the dumbbells? Again, online course, my friend. I go through all the process there. I'm glad you like the new website, Drew. For the dumbbells, it's like anything, right? You want to create obligation to an activity. Well, the first thing I do is I incentivize the dog to put the dowel in his mouth with positive reinforcement. Then I layer some pressure into the process so he understands that the pressure turns off when he puts the dowel in his mouth. And then we just progress from there. Yeah, some dogs, so you're saying this person with the Rottweiler that stopped playing. I was thinking that because she had so much energy in the behaviors, it was a slow build up to it. But as I put more pressure, it's like she's bored and now thinks she can't be asked. So what I'll do sometimes with some dogs that become less interested in my reward is I'll drastically reduce the frequency in which I offer that reward. And that's it. Like, there's nothing more complicated than that. I'll be like, all right, you don't want it? No problem. Get back to work. Let's work then. You don't like break time? You don't like play time? Work time then. Let's work. And then, I'll offer a little, like a few seconds. And I'll be like, oh, still not interested in eating? Still not interested in playing? No problem. Back to work. And then they're like, well, okay, well, now that you've put it like this, where it's like, I can just work, or we can have a little fun in between. Maybe I'll have some fun now, right? Sometimes that can be the answer. Yeah, for sure we make off-leash obedience with Dante. Don't worry. Would you post? Okay, let's see here. I have a business at home and a single mom, tons of people in and out, and having protection dogs is what I hope for. But I had hope in Dante. Well, listen, next time you want a protection dog, Dante's a sweet dog, but that's not what he wants to do. So next time you want a protection dog, like my advice to everybody, look, man, you buy a dog, most people don't have the heart to move the dog along if it's not going to be the dog that able to do the things that they want him or her to do. So now you have the dog now for like 12, 14 years, however long the dog lives, right? My advice is if you are shopping for a dog for a job, this is different than just shopping for a dog. Spend the money and do the work up front, right? Otherwise, you're going to end up with the wrong dog for the wrong job. And then you're just going to have another cute pet in your house. If I use high-value food like sausages, then she does the commands, no problem. But is this her trying only take high-value treats, or should I run with it to progress with training? Well, treats shouldn't be the only thing that makes training possible to progress, I would say if your dog's only willing to take high-value treats, then your dog's telling you something about how much he or she values the food that you're feeding. My advice would be to stop feeding your dog freely, stop feeding your dog meals from the bowl, and start offering the dog food. Like, I don't ever use treats in my training. All my training food is kibble. My dog's just daily food they get in training. I do not ever give like special treats for training. I never rely on it, right? And that's just because they learn to eat with the training. So let's see here. Do you think civil dogs are undesirable in sport? No, because what is a civil dog? A civil dog is a dog that is willing to bite someone without, traditional bite equipment on. There's a lot of sport dogs that don't do that. What's undesirable in sport that are dogs that are overly emotional and acting out of emotion, right? That's unproductive from a sport perspective, just as it's unproductive, you know, when you're learning to box or anything like that. When you're emotional, I found all this out the hard way. You get your ass kicked because you're not thinking, right? You're not doing things intelligently, right? And it's the same in dog sport, right? A dog that is being overly emotional, a dog that's taking things, you know, too seriously and too extreme. Like, this is a dog that's going to make costly mistakes, and this is a dog that's going to get tired a lot faster in the work. You can hear the present wrapping. I know. Unbelievable. They can hear you wrapping presents. Ridiculous.
You're going to start hearing a Christmas movie pretty soon.
You're going to start hearing a Christmas movie. Oh, God. No Christmas movies. I'm the Christmas movie. Has created a problem for me. Saw Gage with you in a crowded room of dogs barking at him and people oblivious to everything, laser focused on you. Have your course book channel Patreon. How do I? Well, if you have my course, Freddie, that was competition training, right? And that's just the dog understanding it, like the dog valuing me over the environment, man. Like, he was just saying, you know what? All those other dogs, all those other people, you are more exciting and valuable to me than them, right? And that's because in the competition work, I built that excitement for me. So, you know, that's fundamentally what it is. If you're in the competition course, so you know that, right? You know how I did it. But, you know, even if your dog is just a pet dog and that's what you want, right? Functional control. My dog will still show that same functional control around a ton of other dogs that are being crazy. You know what I mean? He won't bark at me and like focus heel with me because he's in functional obedience, but those are two different things. Have I used the Martin Systems Ecollar? Yeah, I used them a little bit. They're not my cup of tea. When's the next online training competition? Well, maybe we'll do something in January. By the way, for those of you wondering about getting in on my trainer's course, we will, like I said, we'll get back to those of you that have already applied. info@shieldk9.ca is where you, ask to be a member of my online training course. We are going to do an intake of new Shield Pro trainers for our certification course in middle of January. So just for now, send your emails and we'll get back to all of you, obviously after the holidays, and we'll go from there. Watching from Ottawa, thanks for the videos. Yeah, we have a location in Ottawa. Shield K9 Ottawa is rocking and rolling, for those of you that are wondering. What else we got here? Yeah, you know what? I don't think, I think that's the problem with dog training today. Just not enough people, speaking the truth and just being, uncompromising when it comes to nonsense. Like, unfortunately, you'd think in this information age, like, we wouldn't be in such a state of confusion about how the world works. And I'm speaking both from the context of dog training and from the context of, like, social, society and from the context of, like, social dynamics, all of this stuff. It seems like all this information has actually opened the door to create misinformation, and there's so much misinformation out there that's masquerading as, science that you hear and see now, which is crazy, and as dog trainers, this idea of put your head down and stay in your lane and just do your own thing. I don't think we can do that anymore, because when you do that, you see what happens. People just say stupid things. People just take liberty. And if what I do is a lot of the time when people say something stupid to me, or make a stupid comment, I'll challenge them. And when you challenge them, a lot of the times, they back down, they fall apart, because they're just used to saying things frivolously and people just going along, especially when they get to kind of seize the moral high ground. Oh, why don't you put that collar on you. Well, number one, I have worn the e-collar many times, and I have used it on myself many times. But that's besides the point. What are you talking about? Are we talking about dog training? Like, why are you asking me to do the same things to myself that I would do to my dog? I always say, well, if I can put a collar on you and walk you like a dog and feed you out of a bowl, I'll put the e-collar on me. How about that? That always kind of puts an end to that nonsense. But it's just this idiocy, you know? It's like, you know, we need to have more of this, like, you know what, shut the fuck up. Like, more people need to just shut the fuck up. Like, there's too many stupid people just talking, you know? It's like, you know, I drive a car. I'm not a car mechanic. I drive a car every day. I am not a car mechanic. If the car mechanic tells me something about the pistons in my engine, you know, I don't watch videos of guys fixing cars and be like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You should. I don't know crap about fixing cars. So why am I going to criticize someone that's clearly an expert in the field? There's way too many people that are just comfortable running their mouth, you know, especially if they think they get the opportunity to signal some false virtue. You know, you want to be a good person? Go out there, do the work to be a good person. You don't get to be a good person by saying, you know, cute shit on the internet. Have I ever thought about opening any training locations in the US? Yeah, you know, it's one of those things, right? Like, there's, for sure, I would like to open a training location in the US, but everything has to happen in its time. We don't just rush to do things. You know, if you want to do something right, you have to make sure it's the right time to do it. Do I have any herder puppies? Well, I hope we will have some soon from Juice and Chico. How is my equestrian training going? Well, it's not right now. I haven't been on my horses in, I'd say, like 8 weeks. It's freezing cold outside. I'll be honest with you. I'm busy training dogs. So my dog has a leg injury, and he allows only me to examine and medicate him. He growls, and his hair goes up when the vet or others try to examine the injury site. Should I correct him for growling? No. You should put, you know, animals in pain. Like, you have to understand. You know, like, there's only so much you can ask there. What I'll do is I'll put a muzzle on him, and I'll control him while the vet goes to look at it. Right? Like, that's fundamentally it. You know, it's like, if he has an injury, it's not really the time to, like, be training the dog, you know? But later on, it's like, look, I had to do a vet check, for instance, for nationals with my dog, and he really hates that kind of stuff from strange people touching him. So I practiced it. I put my dog on a table. I had people that helped me come up and touch the dog in uncomfortable places and do things to him while I held him. And in that circumstance, I corrected him because he wasn't injured, right? He wasn't in physical pain, right? And that's where I say, hey, bro, you can't be doing any of this nonsense. You have to stand here, you know, and just take it. You have to let them look in your ears, look at your teeth, pull on your paws, pull your tail, touch you on the stomach, all of this type of stuff. But if you wait until your dog has an injury and you're trying to train this, it's not productive. It's not going to help. You're just going to create more stress. Yeah. LOL, yes, more people need to shut the fuck up. And who asked you? Meaning the ones who need to shut the fuck up. Yeah, it's crazy, you know? Like, I have so many people, and they just say frivolous shit, you know? Like, just stuff that's stupid. It's like, what kind of dog trainer needs it? It's like, bitch, have you seen what I do with dogs? Like, have you seen what my dogs do? I know your dogs don't do this. Why are you talking to me as if your dogs can do what my dogs do? They can't. So shut up. It's like, what, you don't like the collar my dog's wearing? Shut up. Who cares? It's like, when your dog can do what my dog does, then be worried about what kind of collar. When you can perform, when you can put out the same kind of performance I can put out, when you can do the same thing with dogs that I can do, then I'll be interested in your opinion. But you can't, right? So shut up. And they know they can't. You know, so it's the weirdest thing. Does daily training procedures more confidence and dominant dog? I notice my 6-year-old Malwa spread his pheromones. New behavior, no training issues. I'm not sure what you said because there was a ton of, like, that was an interesting sentence to read. But no, I mean, daily training, I mean, look, if it's good training, for sure, you can make your dog more confident, but also age makes a dog more confident too, right? Age can definitely make a dog more confident and dominant and show all that type of behavior. So can't really say why he's doing all that, but if he's feeling good about himself, that's good. And I had a guy say, I was going back and forth with another guy, and he's like, "Oh, we don't use e-collars the old way." And I said, "Who do you think taught us to use the e-collars?" The Europeans taught us how to use them properly. Oh, that was 20 years ago. I said, no, it's not. What the fuck are you talking about? I was at an e-collar seminar like 2 years ago. What do you mean? It was all the guys, all the European guys that come train now, they show us with the e-collar. They train with the e-collar. What are you talking about? You know, oh, you guys are 20 years behind in the US and Canada. I'm like, what are you talking about? We had a Canadian trainer just win Universal Seeger. We've had multiple U.S. teams in the top three and multiple U.S. team members on the podium. What are you talking about? Right? The training here is only getting better. Meanwhile, you guys are going back into the Stone Age. Where do I see myself in 10 years? I don't know. I don't have a 10-year plan right now. I'm just focusing on what I'm doing now and next year, and I'm not too worried about it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy doing what I do. Like, I feel like a 10-year plan would like imply that I wasn't happy doing what I did now. Like, I don't feel like an urge to not be doing what I do now in 10 years. It's like I'm happy. I like training my dogs. You know, I like a lot of things about my life. Are there some things that I want to change as time goes on? Sure. But, you know, I just see myself kind of doing the same thing, but on a bigger, better scale. Or maybe I could be doing something completely different. Maybe I'll be out of dogs altogether in 10 years. I don't know. What I've learned is, over the last few years, the one thing I've learned is you don't even know what's happening next year. So, chill out. Yes, guys. Merry Christmas to all of you. Appreciate all the positive remarks. Yeah, I'm not smoking a cigar in the house, unfortunately. All right, guys. It was good talking to all of you. I'll see you all on the next one. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We also have a Patreon. You can get on there too.